everyone, welcome back to The Learning Gardener. If you haven't been here before, my name is Pip and welcome to my garden. Today it's very hot, but the plan is to clean out and plant up 2 garden beds. So we'll have to see how we go with that, because as I said, it is quite unpleasant out here actually this afternoon, even though it's autumn. And you can see we've got a little Doubles just here, still with his cone of shade. He is a bit stoned this afternoon because his behavior over the last few days has been, yeah, it's been interesting. So he is a little bit stoned this afternoon, but they are likely to wear off, and witching hour is generally from about 4 p.m. But I've just done some training with him, which includes hand feeding. So hopefully that will mean that his tummy's a little bit full, he's a little bit tired, and that witching hour doesn't mean the destruction of what remains of this camera that I'm filming with, because he's already literally taken chunks out of it. But what we're going to be doing is cleaning up the tomatoes. So these were either mortgage lifter or beefsteak tomatoes, I can't remember. They produced really well, but they produced all in one massive moment, and then they were done. So we're going to leave, we've got some capsicums in here, and I'm going to prune or pull out the marigolds, because I don't want marigold seeds everywhere. And we're just going to get this planted up with a whole bunch of seedlings. Now we do have a lot of brassica seeds and things like that I've started up on the deck, and some of them are a bit leggy, which is unfortunate, because even with the new seedling tray supports, they've been getting nicked by bush rats or mice or bandicoots or whoever, and they've been getting in underneath the supports that I had over the top, so I had to put a more industrial strength covering on, and that meant they got a bit shaded and they got a bit leggy. But if they're a bit leggy, I'm just going to plant the broccoli deeper, and I feel like it's going to work, because tomatoes, it works, and I know it works with tomatoes because they've got long hairs on them and that turns into roots. But here's the thing, here's why I think it'll work still with broccoli, even though broccoli stems tend not to have those hairy stems like tomatoes. If you were a broccoli seed out in the wild and you got sown and blown about in the wind and you decided to land somewhere and grow, leaves are going to fall, stuff is going to blow, and your stem is potentially going to get covered, and you're still going to grow. So I think it's going to work, but hopefully they're not too leggy. So we're going to start with clearing out this bed. We're going to remove this tomato support. We might have to temporarily move or relocate the Oliver scarecrow, and we're going to get this all planted and get this done. We've cleaned out what we need to clean out of this bed, and I've saved some dried zinnia heads. So these are from my Dobby, the purple, the kind of like a pinky purple zinnia. I'm not sure what the name of them is because it's still buried underneath all of the zinnias, but this area has done incredibly well. I just don't want you to impale yourself, Dobby, but this particular color of zinnia this year has been wildly popular with the butterflies in particular. This afternoon I was just watching this beautiful blue butterfly make its way around the garden, and they're quite nervous, but I managed to actually find a pair of them, hopefully making some more, and the bees have been going wild for this same zinnia, so I'm quite sure these are very well pollinated. And if the bees really particularly the butterflies, if they really love this color of zinnia, then I want to have a million billion of them next year. That's my hand. You can't take me with you, Dobby. But also, I have loved this color. This is just such a beautiful color. The interesting thing that I discovered while I was in here just deadheading was, and it's the second time I found this today, was in between the petals there was a little dead bee. Just upside down, dead, like it had a little heart attack on the job, which I'm hoping is not like the local bees, and a few doors down have bees. I hope there's no like varroa mite or something that's causing that, and I hope that's just, you know, oh, caterpillar, gross. The end of, thought something was on me, the end of the natural cycle of life. But it's a bit weird that I found it, and I don't know if that's just because we've had so many more pollinators this year. Like I even got to watch a blue-banded bee this morning do its buzz pollination vibration on some tomato flowers. It's crazy that we still have tomato flowers, but we do. But yeah, it's a little weird to find some dead bees in the flowers, but circle of life hopefully, and not a sign of trouble. Let's take this out before Dobby kills himself. I've topped up the bed with compost from home. I've brought out the slow release fertilizer and the blood and bone, and I brought a Dobby. I've got some seedlings here, so I've got some dill and some curled parsley, and Dobby is sitting on the celery. So I'm not quite sure how much of that got picked up because of Dobby and the mic, but we've got broccoli, which we're going to pop in, and that's going to be the primary thing we're popping in. And the broccoli, because it's a heavy feeder, should be really happy with the new layer of compost and with the fertilizer that I'll add. And then in between the broccoli, I've got the dill, parsley, celery, and some queen violet zinnias that we're going to dot in. I'm going to leave the marigolds for now. They will die off as soon as the weather turns cold, but we are supposed to have about 4 or 5 days coming up of really, really, really hot weather. So I'm hoping that if I can keep the ground moist enough that these seedlings will get a chance to really kick off and put on some good growth before we start getting more into autumn weather. This worm buffet I was going to remove, but I'm actually going to leave it in place because as I went to pull it out, there's actually a couple of horrible looking spiders in there, so I'm just going to deal with that another day, and I might bury them in more compost over winter because I haven't really put anything in during summer because we couldn't reach in there. So those spiders can live another day because I don't want to deal with them. But yeah, we're going to get all of this planted up, and obviously we're going to leave these zinnias to finish off their season. The mild / moderate chili of unknown variety that overwintered last time, I'll leave that through, leave that where it is. I've just pruned it back, and we had a whole bunch of beet seeds that had germinated from self-seeding from a massive beet that went to seed and produced a ridiculous amount of seed. Most of those seedlings died on a 40-degree weekend where I wasn't here, and so I just covered the rest in compost, and if they live, they live. So if we can get the doubles out of the bed, we'll start our planting and get this bed all covered, and then we've got to cover it in some chicken wire so the blackbirds can't get in and eat all our little worms in the freshly laid compost. So because we had tomatoes in here beforehand and they are also heavy feeders, I'm going to give the ground quite a dose of fertilizer. hopefully that will be enough to give the soil what it needs to replenish what the tomatoes took and give the broccoli what it needs to get going. I am extremely unreliable with liquid fertilizer. I think this year's the first time I've done it at least once, so I tend to just give a heavy dose of feed when I plant, and that's really all they get. With these broccoli back here near the back of the worm farm, I'm just going to submerge the stalk by about an inch, and hopefully the stalk won't rot away, and my theory about broccolis will be proven correct, that you can bury them deep, because that one doesn't have much of a root system. So I expect that one probably, same with this one, might not do all that well. Dobby, don't need fertilizer. So I've planted these ones quite close together simply because about 4 of 5, how many have we got? 4 of 6 had very minimal root system when I divided them. So I don't know if they'll survive the 40-degree days we've got coming up. So I'm not that worried, but also because I have found that the garden beds that have done the best are the ones that I broke all the rules and planted super intensively, and they had minimal weeds, they had minimal pests, and they also looked the best. Something else we've got to plant up the back here is some basil seedlings that I cut a few weeks ago and then just stored in a glass jar inside. They've grown beautiful roots, but they're looking a bit rough because they're not appreciating the use of the air conditioning inside. So I figured, given there's a couple of 40-degree days around the corner and it's really the basil's last chance, I might as well pop it in the ground and see if we can get one more basil harvest. But other than that, at the back of this garden bed, because the sun position in winter changes to, instead of coming from this direction in my eyes, which it's coming from now, it progressively is moving around and coming more from my right hand side. So on this side, in this corner, that's where I'm going to put the zinnias, because they're going to get nice and tall, and anything that is going to overwinter, like the food, so the broccoli, the parsley, the celery, I'm going to put more on this side of the garden bed, so its access to sun is prioritized. everything is finally watered and mulched in and fertilized. And I say finally because this has taken a lot longer than I anticipated, because I hadn't accounted for Dobby. I just discovered the little mite had found the 5-kilo bag of blood and bone and pulled it down the stairs and was working on opening it, weren't you, Dobby? So you're just like your predecessor, Marley Sue, who used to love blood and bone. So hopefully these little, I guess they're makeshift cloches, but they're just chicken wire over the seedlings, will keep Dobby out of the garden bed. Generally speaking, I don't mind if the puppies go in the garden bed, it's their garden too, but I don't like the blackbirds, and we have had a whole family of blackbirds just jumping in and digging up all the garden beds, and the most effective thing for dealing with them has been Birdie chasing them. But she's inside because she's barking all the time, and using garden pegs, weed mat pegs, what's the other word for them? Landscape staples to hold down the chicken wire. And then I find that sometimes then still we get bandicoots and stuff, or maybe it's bold blackbirds climbing in at the kind of end of the tunnel that you create, and at least the plants can come up and through the chicken wire, but it's really annoying when you come out and discover everything's been rearranged. So what I've been doing is putting sticks on the end of each of the tunnels, and essentially what that does is make it hard for the blackbirds to land where they want to land, and therefore they can't get in. So I'm just going to set these up. And then I've got some angry, hungry puppies that want me to stop what I'm doing and feed them, which is fair enough because it's the end of the day. So I'm going to feed them, and then we're going to come out and finish everything off. And the marigolds are making this a little bit tricky, but we will just have to make it work. Dobby, did you just steal 2 of my sticks? It's not a stick library, buddy. Slight change of plans because I didn't realize it was as late as it is. This garden bed beside the one we just worked on is pretty much empty at this point. All it really needs is a top up with compost because the soil level has dropped a ton. We need to prune back the marigolds and the salvia really quickly. The little capsicums can stay in place. There's a zucchini attempting to do a late harvest of zucchinis for us after all of my zucchinis died off the first month of summer. So because the mulch has already broken down, it's pretty much primed and ready to go. Every beet and everything like that that was in this bed has already been harvested, so we don't really have to do much before we can get to planting in this garden bed. So first thing I'm going to do is give it a quick haircut and then get the compost in. We have a tray of sugar snap peas that are nearly ready to go in the ground. They've only just emerged, but it's quite a task to keep these seeds safe from the bandicoot or the mouse or the whoever that's been coming up and eating them. It might have been a bush rat because yesterday I was walking and I thought I stepped on a dog poo and I stepped on a dead rat. So, you know, the perils of living on the bush, but it's been quite hard to actually protect these. Whoever it is that's eating them has been absolutely ravenous, and that has meant that I've had to overcover the seedlings, and they're not as healthy because they're not getting as much sunlight. So I'd rather just roll the dice, because we've got plenty of time to start more peas, especially given the weather, and try and get these in the ground and ready to go. And if they do well, then they do well. And seeing we've already got the climbing structure in place, it seems kind of perfect. And if we lose them overnight, then we know that I'm stupid. So, you know, whatever. Either way, we live, we learn, we fight another day. So I'm just going to plant these in, and hopefully we will have some glorious peas climbing up here very, very soon. And we'll be able to save a lot and freeze dry some so that they're turning into like chips almost. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in the freeze dryer at the moment that needs to come out when I go inside, after I've obviously washed my hands with great intensity to get all the compost goo off. But let's just try and get this garden bed planted up, protected, watered in, and mulched. So I think I might have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew in terms of what we can get done today. Dobby's been banging on the back door because he wants to go inside. The other two have been barking because they want to come back out. I can't keep everyone happy. I don't even know why I'm pegging these in, to be honest, because a rat or a bush mouse or whatever is going to be able to easily get in and under here and pull what remains of these pea seeds out if they want to. So it actually might have been a bit stupid to do this. Ah well, whatever. So I guess if you want to see if the peas survive the night, you'll have to tune in to our next episode. And then after that, we've got to see if they survive the 40-degree days. Tough times for these peas. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out with us. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.